Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do a layout for our arrival to the area where we planned to see Fantasmic, and I'll tell you more about what we did there and why. But this layout, it's going to be fun. We're going to do some more punching, and we're going to work on kind of accenting that punching in a different way than what I have done in the past. So that'll be a fun new thing. And yeah, I hope it comes together pretty well. I think it will. I'm excited to see how it turns out. And let's check out my workspace and get started. Alright, so this is my workspace for today, and you'll recognize this is the right side of the layout that we just did with the icicles around the edge and the frame. And today we are going to do something a little bit similar, but not exactly. As I was searching for an inspiration for what to do with these photos that we have here, I came across these squares that are green that I had just from I think from some cardstock that I gutted to make another frame, and I thought, well, those would be perfect. We should use those for something. And I was kind of looking to use similar colors as to what I was finding in these pictures. So we've got our red t-shirts, but we've also got our gold sweatshirts that we were wearing a lot, and there's a lot of foliage. So I thought, and then there were these cool gold stars. This is in the New Orleans Square area. We had traipsed across from Tomorrowland all the way across the center spoke of Disneyland through the entrance to Adventureland and to New Orleans Square with the purpose of finding a spot to squat, as my kids would say, a spot to sit where we could just mark our spot so that we had a good seat for Fantasmic that evening. We were all kind of pooped, and it was about dinner time, so we just decided, well, we'll go over, we'll find a good spot, and then we'll figure out what we want to eat and send a couple of them after the food, and just kind of stay there. And I thought my children would be anxious to kind of, once we found our spot, kind of a couple go here, a couple go there, and just kind of go look around and maybe go on a ride or something like that and come back later and find us after we ate dinner. But actually, they stayed with us the whole time. And we sat and we waited and visited, and we sang songs with some of the worker maintenance people as they would come on the music in the background, and we would start kind of humming along. The next thing we knew, we were singing, and they thought that was awesome, and they'd come over and talk to us, and super fun. At one point, my son did go for a short walk, and so I do have some pictures that he took from neighboring areas that are really cute and very special because they were areas we didn't really go into too much. But otherwise, we just ordered our dinner from the marketplace that was right behind us, and we just sat here and just visited and ate our dinner. And most of us got stew from the market, and it was very, very yummy. And we just sat there and waited. See, this is my husband's "I'm bored, I'm waiting" face. Anyways, so these are the pictures I have to scrap for this layout. And what I decided to do, and why there's so much like yellow, is we're not going to see all this yellow. This yellow is here to kind of help me bring out a feature in the green. So I'm just going to sort of set all this yellow kind of to the side. I also have a piece of gold shimmer here, so we're going to cut some very fine thin lines of this gold shimmer and attempt to make a decorative space around these cubes, which we're going to punch. But we'll do that in a minute. Right now I'm just going to sort of set it over there. 1 second here. I'm just gonna get these pages out of the way so we can deal with these green squares and decide what we're gonna do. So I pulled out my Starry Border Maker cartridge. Starry is not a chain punch. Starry is a connected punch. What that means is that it's going to punch the stars and this kind of rough edge all while leaving that connected to your main piece of paper. So it makes a nice edge for a frame if that's what you're creating. This is not necessarily going to be a frame per se, but it is going to be kind of a central hub for some other photos. And we may pare some of those photos that I just showed you down so that they fit neatly in here. I think that might be kind of a fun look. We'll see what happens. But regardless, what we need to do is we need to punch all 4 sides of this cardstock. Now, whenever you punch a frame all the way around, you want to make sure your corners are matching. So what we're going to do, just to make this a little bit easier, is we're going to score the cardstock so that it can fold. And again, I'm not going to be too worried about seeing the folds in the cardstock because I don't think it's going to be as noticeable with all the other things that we have going on the page. So I'm going to come in here and see if I can go ahead and score this a bit from tip to tip. Let's see if we can get it to score from tip to tip. I'm just going to kind of center it in that groove and make sure that that is centered up there, and then I'm just gonna do a light score down the center so that I can fold this a little bit easier. And I know I've said before, it's not a good idea to punch things out of 2 layers of cardstock. So that's not exact, but it's fairly close, and since we're punching the edge, I'm not going to stress about it. I'm going to just see what we can do. So I'm not intending to, break my tool, but let's see what we can do and see if I can make this work. Okay, there's my sticky notes in case they are needed. Let's see how much this edge, I'm going to stick this edge out to the edge, like so. And then let's see if we can get this to punch at least the folded part. If we can get it to punch the folded edge, then it's much easier for me to go back in and punch the rest. So let's see. Nope, it doesn't want to do it. Doesn't want to do it. But I can see where that point is, so let's see if we can do like so. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this whole edge. Okay, now I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the edge opposite to it. Since we couldn't do the folded part, since this paper is just way too thick. It's been a while since I've tried it, so I had to try it. We're going to do the whole bottom edge. We did the whole top edge. We're going to do the whole bottom edge. Okay. Now, we are going to, I'm going to try and just do the in-between part. And then we'll see if maybe I can okay, so I'm going to line this up. I'm going to do my best to kind of center this. So it doesn't quite meet this far line or this far line, but it is as centered as I can get it. Now let's try. Let's see how that turns out. Well, I think I can work with that. Okay, so we'll just do the same thing on the other side. We'll line it up and center it the best we can. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to grab my scissors and just come in here and kind of connect these two in the corners. So that it's not quite as obvious that the punch didn't quite do everything perfect in the corners, right? So we're just going to kind of trim it. Stars in the night sky are never quite exactly the same anyway, so that's okay. I think that'll be all right. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to our other piece of green cardstock so that they match, and I'll speed that up so that you don't have to wash the whole thing. So now we have our 2 squares. I'm going to take some of my yellow, of my gold, and I'm going to cut some strips to go underneath here. But this darker gold is not always like, it's a little bit too bright, I think, sometimes. I don't think we always need to go jump in with the brightest gold that we have. So I'm wondering how I might kind of make a gradual strip. I think I'm going to have to get very creative here, because what I would like is for there to be different colored stars, but I don't want to have to go in and add each individual star. That to me is way too tedious, right? So let's see how wide this strip is. So we're looking at probably about 3/4 of an inch would cover most of what we need to cover. So I'm going to cut some strips of all these different colors of gold and yellow at 3/4 of an inch. Let's just try something, shall we? Oh, this is my scoring blade. Whose job was it? Whose job was it to remind me? I'm forever forgetting to put the straight blade back in my theme. At least it wasn't a decorative blade this time, right? Okay, so 3/4 of an inch. We're just going to do several strips of this gold. All right. Let's see what we can do with that. We'll set these other ones over here. Okay, actually first what I'm going to do is take a bunch of these and just come in here and cut them kind of at an angle. And the angle isn't really as critical. I just want to be able to kind of have some overlap. Does that make sense? I'm gonna grab a few of these other colors. I'm just going to use this as a little bit like a template so that I can see where this one needs to be cut. So the angle is similar and they'll fit together a little bit better. Okay, so then one, two, these lighter ones, no. All right, well that was a much messier process than I expected it to be. And I actually sort of changed the way I was doing it halfway through. So let me just explain what I have found to be the better way. So I cut all these pieces. You saw me cut all these pieces at similar angles so that they would sort of fit together, and that worked to an extent, but it just took a long time and a lot of extra paper to mount them on top of this gold piece. So for the second one, I actually took some of these and cut them at the same angles so that I could use these as pieces in the second go round, and that seemed to work better. It also seemed to work better to put my adhesive on here and then just fit the pieces on. And when on the corners, especially when I could not quite get coverage of the stars I wanted coverage of, I just sort of used little bitty scraps and stuck them in where necessary. So this is scrapbooking after all, you know, so that's the way that came together. And I think it will be cute once we have the whole thing put together. But whew, that was a lot more tedious than I expected. So bear with me while I gather my thoughts again about what we next need to do here. Okay, so we've got our squares done. We need to cut some gold pieces for around the edges. So I'm going to cut my gold shimmer. This stuff is like gold if you are familiar with Creative Memories and know how it has sold out so fast and been difficult to keep in stock and the like. So this is a 3/8 inch line. I think that actually might be too thick for what I want, so just gonna set that one aside. Let's do a 1/4 of an inch. 1/4 of an inch should be fine. So a 1/4 of an inch. I'm gonna need 6 of these 1/4 inch pieces. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut 6. All right, so now we have our 6 gold pieces. Let's do some assembly. And I'm going to move this one because it's the wrong width and I don't want to accidentally grab it. All right, so let me see here. Well, let's grab our sheets, our pages. I'm going to just work on the one page first. And we're going to assemble our stars right off the bat. I'm just going to go ahead and grab my permanent adhesive. I'm going to put that down each side of this square. Going to center the square on my paper. Go ahead and get that put down. I love the way that color pops right off the black page, although I'm looking at it and I didn't get that centered. I am too far towards the bottom. So let me just pop this off real quick and try that one more time. Let's see if I can do a better job the second time. It's a little bit tricky trying to center something that doesn't have a smooth edge on it, but it's okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our repositionable adhesive. I'm going to put it all the way down, essentially with a few breaks, our gold 1/4 inch piece. I'm going to place the gold 1/4 inch piece halfway in between the edge of the square and the edge of my page. I'm going to find the jeeping over here and adhere it there, and then go all the way across, just like so. I'm going to flip it around and do the same thing on the top. The green and the gold are somewhat Mardi Gras colors, even though I didn't really intend it that way. So that's kind of cool, since we are in the sort of the French Quarter of Disneyland, New Orleans Square. This one, I'm going to go up the outside edge, so this outside edge, not the hinge edge, the other one. I'm going to go the same distance in that I went in for the other ones, so that I form a really nice corner, square in each corner. So just like that. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing to our other page. And then we're going to go ahead and do these. Okay, now let's check out our photos and see what we need to do with them. Let's see if we have the right type of photos where we could crop them. So that's a group shot for sure. This is a group shot for sure. This one, we could actually turn this into 2 different photos. This one we could cut down. This is a vertical one, so we need to keep that, but we could cut it down just a little if needed. So let's see. This one is also vertical, so we ought to put those next to each other. Probably ought to put those next to each other, or we could anchor with them. Let's anchor with them. This one I'm gonna trim so part of it can go here, part of it can go there. This photo is not the greatest photo. No one's looking at the camera. They're all looking down or have a weird look on their face. So I'm gonna say maybe we don't need that one. I'll cut this one down just a little and we'll see how we can make this work. So those two are gonna go there like that. This one I'm gonna make a 5-inch, or let's go with 5.5 and see if 5.5 works before we cut it to 5. This one I can cut some of the top so we don't have quite so much unnecessariness at the top. Still need this one to be a little bit shorter. So let's cut this one down a little bit more. Let's make this a 5-inch photo, but I don't want to cut off his head, so I'm going to cut as far as I dare. And then we'll flip him around and measure and make him a 5-inch. Picture. 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 I may have to trim a little bit more of this too, just because it is not fitting where I want it to fit. And I don't really need all that extra stuff up there. It's just extra stuff. Okay, so maybe like that. And then this one, let's bring this one down to a 3-inch photo. If we do that, we're all still in the picture, so that's good. This one I'm gonna trim. If I trim it to 5 like I trimmed the other one, all the stars will still be in the photo, so that's important. Since we did our background based on the stars that are in this picture. And we'll just do this very similar to the other side. Just like that. Okay. Now I have a little bit of room I can journal here and here. I think that'll work. And that photo will become an extra. Okay, so let me go ahead and get these photos on here, and then we'll talk about, very briefly, about some embellishments. And then we'll be done. So I have these embellishments that are a little bit layered. I was thinking maybe these sunflowers might be good. We could put a couple of those in different corners and pop those up. why not? We did kind of pages that mirror each other, so I'm just going to make my embellishments kind of mirror each other too. What's that? And then we can add maybe one more. Add one more little cluster kind of up in the corner. So we've got our clusters down here at the bottom. Let's do one right here in the center of this field, and then we'll write over here to journal. Do kind of like this. Okay, I think that's all I am gonna do for right now on that. I may do a little more once I look at it for a bit, but I think that's the way it's gonna stay. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would be honored if you would go ahead and do that. That'll help me out a lot. And share my page with those fellow paper crafters who you think might be interested and inspired by seeing some of these layouts. If you have any questions, always just go ahead and give me a comment. I try to be really good about replying to everybody who comments, and I appreciate your input greatly. Thanks so much for joining me. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Have a great day now.